Stop tying up your self-worth in the actions that you're taking or not taking. You are worthy because you are. You are going to reach your goal because you declared that you will. Period. The actions that you take or don't take are not the reason why you're not getting there. You're not getting there because you don't feel worthy. You don't feel like you've done enough. You don't feel like you are enough. Hey friend, it's Agnes. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about why is growth so hard and why is it so hard to make lasting change in your life? Why do we keep making promises to ourselves that I am going to change, that this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to grow, and then we inevitably seem to always fall off the bandwagon? And it seems that when we get down hard. Like if you ever notice that, you're going after your goals, you're doing all the things, you're really, really excited, going on all cylinders, and then all of a sudden you just hit like a wall and you fall down and you fall way, way down. And then it's just like, why does this keep happening? Why is this cycle? It's just like this self-sabotage. Like, what in the heck is it? I hope to give you some insight so that you will understand what it is and to help you actually get through it the next time that it happens. So here's the thing. Oftentimes, we believe that growth is linear. It's just like a line, just like this, or even exponential like this. So we think that, we get some information, we give birth to a new desire, a new goal, and all of a sudden we make some notes, we get out our planner, we jot down what we're going to do, we jot down the plan, and we go running for it. And we feel really, really good. We feel really, really excited. But after a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks, the excitement wears off and it gets boring and you feel like you're still in the same place where you were before. Nothing's changing, nothing's happening, and it's just like you feel like giving up. And when you feel like giving up, you stop doing the actions that you were doing and you fall into this low, and then you start to beat up yourself for being in the low, and on and on and on. The thing is that growth is not linear at all. And because you expect it to be linear is why you keep hitting these walls. So you need to accept that, not accept, well, accept too, but expect that your growth journey is going to look less like this and more like, if I'm starting here, I'm eventually going to end up here, but I'm not going to just go, I'm going to go, okay, like that. That's actually what growth looks like. So when you find yourself here and let's say you dip. So the dip feels terrible, but notice you're higher than where you started. You're high, even though you're in a dip, you're higher than where you started. So recognize that with each bout of growth, you're getting closer to your goal. It's just that those dips, they're normal. It's part of the cycle. It's part of the natural way of growing and evolving and changing and becoming. It isn't going to happen so automatically the way you expect it. And expectations are what it causes you the most grief and the most sadness along any journey to any goal, because you expect it to be a certain way, and then when it's not that way, you get upset and it feels so disappointing, and it feels like that's not what you wanted and that's not what you envisioned and that's not what you signed up for. But those expectations, it's not the situation that's happening that's actually bringing you down. It's the expectation that you have that it shouldn't be happening that way. That's what's bringing you down. So you have to try to really hard to erase all expectations out of your mind. As you're on the journey towards your goal and things come up and you fall down a little bit or you get off track, just accept that that just is because it is. It doesn't mean anything bad. It doesn't mean anything good. It doesn't mean anything. It just is. You have to believe that everything that happens to you along the journey is happening to you for your best good and the good of everyone involved. So as long as you see every single hiccup, every single setback, and you say to yourself, this is for my best good. This happened because it is for my best good, for the overall journey, for the overall place where I am going to end up. This is the way that it needed to be because this is the way that it is. And I do not have any expectation of it being any other way than how it is. When you accept everything that's happening, every bad day, every bad mood, every goal that you didn't reach along the way, and you just accept it, that that's just how it had to be, you will be so much happier. You'll be so much more content because it's you that's making yourself miserable by thinking it should be a different way. We give meaning to everything that happens. Everything that happens truly has no meaning other than the meaning that we give it. Life truly has no meaning other than the meaning that we assign to it. Our purpose here is to create a purpose here. That's it. There's nothing else. And so because you get to create all the rules, you get to decide how it gets to be. You get to decide whether or not you'll reach your goal, whether or not you'll be successful, whether or not you'll be happy, whether or not you live a fulfilled life. You get to decide that. But because you've assigned all this meaning to all of these things, you're having a really hard time getting there. Because each time that you hit a little hiccup, each time that you wake up in a bad mood, each time that you skip the work that you said you were going to do, and you don't do it because you got into a lazy funk or whatever, and you say, well, now I'm never going to reach my goal because I keep dipping down into these old habits. I'm trying to break these habits, but I keep coming back into my old habits, so I'm never going to become the person that I want to become. But that is just a rule that you've placed on yourself. And it's going to keep proving itself as true because you placed it there. Like, when I was a little girl, I was always fascinated by Vanna White. I was an immigrant, a child, came here with my parents when I was in kindergarten. And my parents worked really hard. They worked blue-collar jobs. They worked long hours. The work was hard, heavy, and we didn't have a lot. I think we had everything that we needed, but there wasn't any overflow. There wasn't any surplus. But even though this was my reality, and this is what I saw at home, I remember watching Wheel of Fortune, and I remember seeing Vanna White in her beautiful gown, and all she had to do was push on those letters and they would turn. Now they're just like a touch screen, but back in the day they used to like physically turn around. So all she had to do was walk across the stage, push on the letter, it would turn around, and then she'd stand there and she'd clap and she'd smile, and she wouldn't say anything, she wouldn't do anything. All she did was turn those letters every single night, and every night she had a more beautiful dress. And I remember thinking as a 7-year-old, why does one person get to just have that job that she has and make a lot of money? Like, I imagined in my head that she made a lot of money. And another person, like my parents, work so hard and they don't make a lot of money. So I knew back then that working hard and making a lot of money was not a correlation at all. But what I didn't know back then that I know now is that we actually get to make those rules of what we have to do to become successful, to become the version of ourselves that we want to be. We actually get to make the rule. But as long as we have a program, a subconscious program running in the background that says you have to be a specific way, and then you don't live up to that specific way, you're always going to self-sabotage yourself and bring yourself down, because you can never exceed your own vision of yourself. Your success level will never exceed how you see yourself. If you see yourself as a lazy, can't keep your word, can't stick to anything, falls off the bandwagon, falls into doubt, falls into all these negative low places, and then hits bursts of energy and does really well, and then falls back, and you see yourself that you can't stay committed and you can't stay on track and you can't do the things that you said you were going to do, you're never going to surpass that vision that you have of yourself. So your job is not to do more, not to make sure that you never have a bad day, not to make sure that you're always in a super elevated, high energy place. Obviously, that is your ultimate goal. You do want to stay in a super high energy place, but you will not be there all the time, because there's a natural cycle of growth, and it includes the dips. So it's not that you have to be there all the time, it's that you think that you have to be there all the time. If you have a bad day, if you skip your workout, if you skip a meditation, if you skip your work that you said you were going to do towards your business goal, don't make it mean anything. Stop tying up your self-worth in the actions that you're taking or not taking. You are worthy because you are. You are going to reach your goal because you declared that you will. Period. The actions that you take or don't take are not the reason why you're not getting there. You're not getting there because you don't feel worthy. You don't feel like you've done enough. You don't feel like you are enough. So quit tying up your worth in your actions. Yes, actions are important, but you can take all the action in the world, but if you're not there in your mindset, if you don't believe with every cell of your being that what you're doing is enough, that you are on your way, that every single step you take is getting you that much closer to where you want to be, if you don't believe that with every fiber of your being, you're not going to get there. And you're going to be miserable trying, because the whole point is to enjoy the journey. Now is all we have right now, this moment. This is it. This is all you have. The past is a memory. The future is just non-existent. It's just now. It's just right now. We have to make feeling good right now important. We have to understand that it truly is all we have anyway. So if you're not enjoying the journey, if you're beating yourself up every step of the way, if you keep finding yourself in self-sabotage, you're never going to get there. Expect the pattern of growth. Understand that it's normal to have low days. Understand that having a slow day doesn't mean anything. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. The fact that you had a desire is proof that that desire can be yours. Because if it couldn't be yours, you wouldn't have the ability to imagine it. So if you are able to imagine yourself having that thing that you want, that means that it's possible for you to have it. And you have to think of the rules that you're putting in place and understand that they are of your own creation. So if you created them, that means you can change them. Because think of Vanna White making all that money and not doing a whole lot. Think of musicians, they get to just party all the time. A lot of them just do drugs and drink and party, and they make a ton of money. And that's not to say that you should drink and party, because that's not the path that you've set for yourself. But if it was 100% true that in order to be abundant and in order to have this really adventurous, fun life, you had to be like a saint and you had to be perfect and you had to always wake up at 5 a.m. and do your workouts and do the perfect schedule that you've laid out in your mind of what you think it takes to become successful, if that was true, then no person that doesn't do that could ever be successful or could ever have money. And there's plenty of people that like just inherit money, they do nothing for it. There's plenty of people that win the lottery. There's plenty of people that are musicians. They just play an instrument and they have fun all day and they make money that way. There's so many different kinds of ways to live an abundant lifestyle, and there's so many different kinds of ways that money can come to you, but you're not open to receiving them because you're just looking at it with tunnel vision and you're thinking that the rules that you've laid out are the only way that you can get to success. So open up yourself to new ways. Ease up a little bit on all of the importance that you've placed on all of the actions that you think you need to take. Instead, use your imagination more. As you're meditating, the whole point of meditating is to get into a place where you are just shutting out every single physical thing that's around you, and you go into a space of darkness and silence so that you can download information from a higher place. Here in our physical bodies, in our physical worlds, we're limited. Our brain isn't even working at its full capacity. So we're very, very limited between what we see and the thoughts that we have and the people that say different things and influence us in different ways, where we can't see outside of ourselves. We can't see the bigger picture. We can't zoom out and gain bigger perspective because everything's so dense here. Everything's so real here. But when you go into a space of meditation, when you go into the quiet, the silence, the darkness, and you offer yourself to a place of receiving, where you could just put your hands out like this and physically open your body, close your eyes, and allow a download to come in. Allow greater intelligence to come in through you. If you do this, it opens up your intuition. It can give you broader perspective. It can help wire different parts of your brain that are not wiring and firing right now. So there's a lot of science behind it. You can go in and you can go down that rabbit hole and read all about the science of how your brain works and how your brain changes when you're meditating. Like, this is a real thing, and there's scientists that study this stuff. And I'm not one of those scientists, so I don't know like all those technical words, but I can promise you that if you do it, things will change in your life. And I can promise you that if you stop assigning so much meaning to all of the things that you are or are not doing, things will change in your life. You have to back up a little bit. Get less serious. Loosen up a little. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about that you have to be childlike before you can enter the kingdom of God. Children, they're innocent, right? But they don't have any expectations of how things should be. If you notice little kids, toddlers, they just approach everything with this openness and this newness, and they're curious and they're excited and they want to touch everything and they want to do everything, and they get upset when you tell them no because they want to experience everything. And when we become adults, we somehow lose this sense of curiosity. We lose this sense of this wonder. We just think we know everything already. We're so like solidified in our opinions and how we just think reality is. So we say things like, well, that's just the way it's always been. That's the way my parents have always done it, and that's the way we do it. And we say things like I catch myself all the time with my kids. I'll give you an example that just happened. an hour ago. My son plays football. He was telling me about an injury that someone had on the team. And I said, well, you play contact sports, you get injuries. That's just how it is. And as soon as I said it, I was like, why did I say that? That's just one of those things that can be true if you believe it to be true, but it doesn't have to be true at all. It doesn't have to be true at all. I don't have to have that rule in my brain, and I don't have to implement that rule into my child's brain. But I just did as habit, because that's the human condition, you know? It's just we have these habitual things that we say, and we don't even think twice about it. We're just like, well, that's just the way it is. Football players get injured. No, that's not the way it is. It doesn't have to be that way. We have to be mindful of these rules that we place and the things that we say to our children, and put those rules on them. Because what we do is we create limitations. We create limitations. We create programming in their minds that says, this is just the way it is. I can't go any farther than this because this is how far anyone I know has ever gone. But that's a limitation. Because if, as I said, if you can imagine it in your head, if you can imagine yourself being injury-free, if you can imagine yourself being healthy, if you can imagine yourself being full of energy, if you can imagine yourself being lucky, you can imagine yourself being wealthy, you can imagine yourself living in the home of your dreams, taking the vacations and travel and adventures of your dreams. If you can imagine yourself doing all of those things, then you can have every single one of them. The limitation that we put is just from our programming. It's things that we repeat. It's on autopilot. Like when I said that to my son, I wasn't even thinking. It was just on autopilot. It just came out, you know? But I always reflect, and I always think, and I always sort of play back the events of the day. And I think, how could I have done this differently? How could it have played out differently if I didn't have that reaction? If I didn't allow a situation to have meaning when it didn't need to have any meaning at all? Or it could have had a positive meaning, but I chose to assign a negative meaning to that situation. These are the types of things that you have the power to change within your mind, within your thinking. You have the power to assign positive meaning to anything that happens to you. You have the power to say, I am on my way to this goal that I've set. And I know that I will hit a slump. So when I hit that slump, I will welcome it because I've been expecting it. And I won't give it any meaning. I won't make it mean anything. I won't put myself down for it. I'll just let that happen and unfold the way that I know that it will. And when you're in a low, you need to understand and welcome those lows, because it's when you're in a low that desires are born. Think about that. When everything's going great, when you're in a high, no desires are being born there. Desires are born when you're in a low. And so it's that contrast that we need in life. We need to experience the low so that we know what the high feels like. We need to feel cold so we know what hot feels like. We need all of it. We need the full spectrum of it. That's why it's all here. That's why we're here experiencing all of these things. If we didn't want to experience all of this stuff, we could have just stayed up in heaven with God and just, not experience anything. But we chose as souls to come here to experience every single thing that we're experiencing. And when they say that we have free will, the free will comes in when you decide the meaning that you assign to the things that happen to you, and whether or not you choose to believe that this is unfolding for your best higher good, or whether or not you choose to believe that this happened to you because it's going to drag you right back down to where you started from or even lower. That's where your choice comes in. So you might not always have a choice of a situation. You might not always have a choice of the mood that you wake up in. Sometimes you just wake up in a bad mood. It just happens. It happens to me sometimes. I go to bed feeling amazing. I do a meditation right before bed. I go to sleep. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling high energy. And then the next day I wake up and I'm in a bad mood. And it's like, what the heck? Why? Why did I wake up in such a bad mood? I worked so hard to build myself up. It just happens. It's a part of the growth process. But what do I choose to make that mean? That's the important part. It's not what mood did I wake up in. It's what did I choose to make that mean? And what is the next thought that I'm going to have? So when you wake up in the morning, give yourself some grace. Allow yourself to have whatever feeling that you're feeling. And if you're feeling low, just say, hey, I've been expecting you. I knew this was going to happen. This is a part of the journey. Because Agnes told me, so I was expecting it. All right, friend. That's all I have for you today. I hope this helps you. I hope that this sparks some sort of, just a different way of looking at the things that happen. Because I know it's not easy, because the doubt creeps in. And, I think we are our own worst critics. And we really beat up on ourselves sometimes. And sometimes it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I know what it feels like. And that's why I like talking about this stuff, because it truly helps me when I create these videos. I actually feel like it helps me to bring things down into perspective. And of course, I hope to help others along the way so that we can grow together. There's enough for all of us. There's enough abundance to go around. And as Abraham Hicks says, abundance grows proportionately to the amount of desire that there is. So as the desire on the planet raises, abundance raises. So there is more than enough to go around. Never look at someone that has what you want and think, oh, great, they have the thing that I want. Now I can't have it. No, that's not true. That's not how it works. If they have it, that's more proof that you can have it, because now you see that it's possible. Because abundance grows in proportion to desire. So I hope this video helped you. If you know someone that could benefit from this, please share, comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.